Good evening and welcome back to Be Rich. Today I wanted to talk about what is happening in Russia Ukraine. If you believe the news, for the last 15 days, the war was practically over. Ukraine and Russia would kiss up and make up, and the world, everybody was happy ever after. And the world market started rising based on that. But sadly, nothing seems to have changed. Today, the Financial Times in London says that Western European countries have decided to stop importing Russian coal. There is already enormous pressure on countries which are buying Russian oil at a discount. But now this will mean that coal prices in the world will go up because Russia and Ukraine are major suppliers of coal. The Ukrainian President Zelensky is asking for bigger sanctions, pointing out to a particular mass grave in near an Ukrainian town and saying Russians indulged in war crimes. Biden administration has now joined in and said that Putin should be tried as a war criminal. But this means things are very clear that unless there is complete humiliation of Russia, this is not going to end. And the Ukrainians are going to ask for their pound of flesh. It is clear that Putin's plan of running over Ukraine in a short span of time has failed. His heavy vehicles have not been able to move cross country, have got bogged down, and have been picked up, and hence they have moved on the main road in a single file, and they have been picked off by Ukrainian resistance fighters. This means Russia is entrenched in a long term war. But Raghuram Rajan, the former IMF economist and a former governor of the Reserve Bank, has made an important point in several interviews, and that is what I wanted to talk about today. What has happened is that finance has become weaponized in this war. Never has it happened before after World War II that a major country's central bank has been target of sanctions after the because it indulged in an act of war. That is, nobody sanctioned the US Federal Reserve because it invaded Vietnam, nor was the US Federal Reserve targeted for invading Iraq on flimsy grounds. But what has happened this time is all the Western nations have got together and have targeted the Russian central bank. The original proposal was written, according to the Financial Times, by the Canadian Treasury Secretary or the Finance Minister, and the EU backed it enthusiastically, and Janet Yellen was the last to sign it off. This means effectively Russia's reserves cannot be accessed by it, and this has forced Russia to default because it does not have access to its reserves which are parked in US dollars. All this shows that Putin acted impulsively without thinking too much because had he thought through this, he would have definitely pulled out his dollars. But things are they are. Now the US and the Western world has blocked the US reserves. Now what has this done? This has meant that any country that keeps its reserves in US dollars, which is the reserve country of the world, is going to be sanctioned, is under the threat of sanctions by the US and the developed nations. Because if I don't like your form of government, I can sanction you. Nobody is saying Putin is a saint, but there is no point in harming the Russians who are going to be affected by this. Most people who are affected by sanctions in Russia are ordinary Russians. The value of the ruble sunk to 180, 128 against the dollar and has recovered only to 98, still 20% below its pre war level. As I correctly predicted, when the war broke out and ruble sunk to 128, it was a time to go long ruble. People who went long ruble would have benefited. But this trade is not for those who are in India, sitting in India. These are trades for people who have millions of dollars and who do not mind playing a million or two. But they would have definitely made money. But it is now very clear that these sanctions and the war is not going to end early, and the American, Ukrainian, and the Western world axis is definitely going to push for a war trial. So this has got into a log jam. This means that price of oil is not going to come down substantially because the American strategic reserves are temporary in nature, and once the release is over, the prices of oil will start to climb northward unless the Gulf nations play ball and decide to raise production. That looks highly unlikely at this point of time. So, the world is going to run with shortages. Finances are weaponized. The SWIFT messaging system, which has never been a part of the sanctions so far, has also been used. It has been weaponized, and therefore, people don't have access to the SWIFT messaging system if they want to transfer money to Russia. This is patently unfair. The success of globalization in the last 30 years is because all systems were built together, and irrespective of war or any conditions or difference of opinions over political systems, all countries could access SWIFT. By now, the US and the Western democracies are saying it is my way or the highway. This emboldens people like China and Russia to develop their own payment systems, where countries which are very uncomfortable with the Americans' push for democracy and interference in their local politics would rather tie up with the Chinese system or the Russian system and trade with them. The world has gained enormously by one globalized economy. India has also made a lot of gains because of this. But the way this is now going, the world could be divided into two blocks. One, an authoritarian bloc, where the ruler is authoritarian, democracy is low, but those countries trade with each other. And another block of democratic nations which trade among themselves. This is a real fear and outcome of the Russian Ukrainian war. This was discussed in great detail by Dr. Rajan. If indeed the world gets to that, it is very sad day. For this will mean that we go back 40 years and wind back the clock on globalization. Thank you for watching. Be rich. If you like this video, kindly hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notification. If you do not turn on the bell notification, you will be not notified every time we put out a video. Kindly consider sharing this video among your friends and relatives if you like the content of this channel. Once again, I thank you for supporting Be Rich. I have written two books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to berichenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support. If you like this video, press the subscribe button of my channel, hit the like button and turn on the bell notification.